Good morning, boys and girls. How are you all doing? I hope you're all getting on okay during lockdown and having to deal with school and church and everything else all at home. I know it's hard being stuck in the house all the time and you've maybe been feeling a bit bored, but this week we had some really good news. We are allowed to get out of the house that little bit more. Maybe you've even already been to see some friends or family face to face at a safe distance rather than on FaceTime or Zoom. It's still tough not doing all the stuff that we used to do, but we thank God for this little step forward, and we know that this is all to keep us and our families safe. The last time we met together in Sunday school, you might remember that we painted some rocks to hide them around your moor so that others could find them and read the really wonderful messages that you carefully painted on them about God and Jesus. Unfortunately, lockdown has pushed pause on that idea for a few months, but we hope to try again later in the year. So keep your rock and we'll pick it up again when we're back together, hopefully sooner rather than later. So first two more rocks, we didn't really get to finish it, but what it was about simply telling others about Jesus. So when Jesus lived on the earth, he asked 12 men to help him tell everyone all about Jesus, and they were called disciples. Jesus, he simply said to them, "Come, follow me." And they did. Those men, they stopped what they were doing and they just followed Jesus. So that is what a disciple is. It's anyone who is following Jesus. So for 3 years, Jesus taught these men all about him. And the Bible tells us in the book of Matthew that just after Jesus had died on the cross for our sins and rose again, that Easter story that we all know about and we all learned a few weeks back, he told his disciples to do this: go and make disciples of all nations. So 2,000 years ago, Jesus told the first disciples to go and tell others all about him, make them, those people, into disciples as well. So that message is the same today in 2020. We must go and tell others all about him. So that was the reason why we were doing First for More Rocks. We were being disciples. So I'm going to be honest, telling others about Jesus can be really hard. And more often than not, even us grown ups checken out of it. But with God's help, the Bible tells us this: nothing is impossible with God. So we can do it with God's help. Can you remember when you first started learning your sounds in school? All those hours of practice learning new sounds day by day, and after a while you could read more and more words, and then your first book, and perhaps one day it just clicked, and now you can almost read anything. Your P1 teacher didn't just throw a big thick book at you and say, there you go. You had to take your time and learn it bit by bit. Well, being a disciple is a bit like that. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. You've maybe heard the phrase, you have to walk before you can run. So I want to start you off on your discipleship journey. And I want to give you two really simple things that can help you become a disciple. So think of these two things as your P1 sounds. So they're the starter for being a disciple. In Sunday school this year, you learnt about the Ten Commandments. And one day when Jesus was on this earth, he was asked what the greatest commandment was, and he answered it like this: love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it: love your neighbour as yourself. So Jesus tells us the most important commandment is to love the Lord your God. So that is what every follower of Jesus, or as we now know, disciple, must do before all other things. And to do that, we must read our Bible, So maybe you could ask your parents to read some stories from the Bible and have them explain what they mean. We must also pray to God. Again, maybe ask your parents to say the Lord's Prayer with you every day and just build it up, and maybe ask God with small prayers yourself and just do that as often as you can. The second most important commandment, as Jesus tells us, is to love your neighbour. So this simply means being kind and thoughtful and looking out for people around you. And during the coronavirus, that is actually quite easy and a really, really good opportunity. It might mean just something as simple as baking some buns or a nice cake with your parents for your elderly neighbours, or just giving a friendly wave to the postman or the bin man. It also means not being mean or horrible to others, maybe your younger brother or sister, but I know all of yous would not be horrible to your younger brother or sister. So it also means not getting cross with people when things don't go your way at home or when you get back to school. So maybe after church today, you could sit down and you might want to get your parents to help and write down some things you can do this week to love the Lord your God and to love your neighbour more. And then by the end of the week, just see how you've got on. So the more and more we love the Lord and our neighbours, the more and more God will help us to follow Jesus and to enable us to speak to others about him and tell them of all the wonderful things that he has done and he can do for you and for them. After that, only God knows what exciting things he has in store for you. And remember the verse from earlier, nothing is impossible with God. Look, thanks for listening. I hope that made sense. So I'm going to leave you with a little song all about following Jesus. God bless.